It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
I'm not prepared today, and I don't think that will surprise the diehards. Maybe the new people, as we've got a bunch of new listeners. It's been kind of nice. It's been a fun week for growth on the podcast, and I'm not prepared today. So welcome to the Sean Widmer Podcast. I will tell you today is going to be a bit of a palate cleanser. That's what today's episode kind of is. I was bummed out today, and the reason I'm not as prepared, I thought I was having someone on, and I asked two people, both of which said yes, and both bailed on me. Now, I'm going to give one a pass and the other not a pass. So Brandon was the first person I asked. I knew I needed a palate cleanser episode today. We talked about radio stuff on Friday's episode and Monday's episode. And when you do that and it's kind of a touchy, sensitive subject, for the most part, you get a lot of support if you're level-headed about things and your opinions are pretty clear. And so that's fine. But of course, you get the people who think you're way wrong and they let you have it. And so I needed a palate cleanser today because this podcast is just for fun for the most part. And again, it's my journal put out there on the internet. So I just needed one to step away for a moment. I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit in the comments because they're unavoidable. We read comments at the end of every episode, which you can get in on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, the question and answer segment. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. You can comment there on YouTube. We read those. And then, of course, the easiest way to do it over at seanslife.com, S-E-A-N, seanslife.com. There's a big comment box right there. We will read the comments off that on the next podcast. So I needed a little palate cleanser. And so I reached out to the two guys who I was sure would be able to do that. Brandon, who's one of my very best friends, who's just great to talk to, been on the podcast a ton, had his podcast for a long time, but I forgot he's got some big events coming up, and he was going to try to squeeze in a conversation late last night, but I could tell between his round of golf, which he does have to get in there, and then the stuff getting ready for his big adventure, it just wasn't going to work. So we'll have him on in a couple weeks to talk about why it was he couldn't come on, because he's doing something really cool, and we're going to want to get a recap on that for sure. And then the other person I called was Jack Ferris. Jack Ferris, someone I love to death, and he was like, yeah, dude, I got you. This will be great. Can't wait. And then 15 minutes before, he's like, hey, man, can't do it. Can't do it. Because Jack's life is insane. And Jack Ferris, someone I worked with in Spokane, I would say he's the number one person in my life doing media that I wanted to do something with that I did not get to do something with. Whether it would have been something on the sports show, on the sports station, or on one of the other radio stations there. I know Jack and I would have done something really cool, and I've just always been bummed I didn't get to do anything with him. And we will never do a podcast together because he does one with my buddy Rob Sacre, and so he's already all tied up in the podcast world. But I was going to have Jack on, and he couldn't either. So now you just are stuck with me by myself in a moment of panic since everyone bailed, and a palate cleanser episode. So today on the podcast, I am into something new. We'll get into that at the end of the show. I'm going to try to do something and see if I like it, and maybe you do it and you can help me out whether it's going to be worth my time to continue doing it or not. I want to give a shout out to one of my very best friends and something that he rocked our world with this week. And then we're going to talk about a little summer thing and summer activity that I'm going to get into, and an AOL article that I saw. In fact, I think we'll kick it off there because it's summer. It's hot in Lexington, man. It's been hot. We've been in the 90s. It's been humid, so it's been raining a little bit, and then the sun just comes right back out, and it feels like you're underwater just walking around. So it's been really hot. Summer is here. And with summer, for me, that means it's burger time. And I am a lover of burgers at home on a whim. I love a good barbecue. I love knowing there's going to be burgers, and I love knowing that we're going to go get to have burgers at someone's house, or we're going to have people over for them. But I'm also somebody who loves to have a sleeve of frozen patties in the refrigerator, in the freezer, and just on a moment's notice, go, you know what? It's burger time. Take a couple out, throw them on the grill them up, and Bob's your uncle. I love frozen patties. And so I want to do something this year. I went to Google and I tried to find how many people, or excuse me, YouTube, and wanted to see how many people had done this. And there's a ton of them. Just a good old-fashioned frozen patty power ranking. I want to do that. I want to get into that. And so a lot of people had done it. So I've got a decent barometer for what to try and what not to try. But I will say this. My wife and I swore by whatever the generic brand at Yolks in Spokane, specifically the Yolks at Layton. I'm sure they're the same at all the Yolks, but whatever their generic brand was of just regular beef frozen patty, whatever they were awesome. They were so good. I loved them. And we don't have Yolks out here, so I've got to reset, retry. I've heard Bubba Burger is really good. There was another one, dang it, I don't remember what it's called now. It got good reviews. But I throw this out there to y'all. If you would like to help me out, if you are a fan of a specific frozen patty type, let me know. I love them. And I think I want to do a little taste test this summer. I guess I'll announce it now on the podcast. I had him on a couple weeks ago. One of my very best friends, Myke, is moving to Lexington. And I couldn't be more excited about it. It's going to be really, really fun. And he's a great sucker for things like this. He's a great sucker to say, Myke, come on over. We're doing burgers, and we're doing it in the form of taste test. And just get a ton of different patties, try them out, crown a king, then do it again a few weeks later with new patties, crown a king, then put the kings against each other, and just do a summer of just overeating hamburgers. And I love doing that. So I think we're going to do that this year. I'm actually so excited Myke's coming out. They're moving out, man, like next week. Next week's a crazy week. This week is a crazy week. I've had a lot of personal stuff happen at the beginning of the week that was great and hectic. And then next week, the baby, Mr. Woods, settled to show up to the house. So Woods should be here. Our son arrives, our third kid. Hopefully he doesn't just get lost in the cracks. Is it the second kid that gets lost in the cracks? Is that how it works? Your first kid is your first one, so you're like very bonded with them. And then your last kid is your last kid, and they're the baby. And so the second kid gets lost in the cracks. I think that's how it's supposed to go. I'm going to tell you this, not going to happen here, because our second will never let us forget that he exists. Ever. Promise you that. If you are able to come in our house and not know that Huck is here, you're deaf. Go to the doctor immediately, get it checked out. So anyhow, that's going to happen next week, and Myke moves out here as well. Myke and his girlfriend Robin moving out here next week. So it's just like the most hectically crazy week with all good stuff. And then this weekend, of course, going to Spokane for Hoop Fest. So it's just like, what in the world? Crazy week. Anyways, when Myke moves out, I want to do the burger taste test. I want to get that done. I'm excited about that. I saw on AOL an article that I'll click on every single time. I'll take the clickbait on it always. And it said the most overrated fast food. Let's see, how is it worded? The most overrated fast food burgers. And I knew the second I saw it, I know what they're going after. They're going to go after the Big Mac. They're going to go after the Whopper for sure. And of course, number one most overrated according to this site, this AOL article, the Big Mac, simple. And then number two, Burger King's Whopper, simple. Now, I enjoy both of those burgers. I get a little irritated with a lot of the top five or lists online that just go for the easy Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless style article where we're just gonna take a shot at the easiest target. LeBron stinks. Wow, way to go way out there and get crazy on it. Big Mac and Whopper, you just know as soon as you see one of these articles, someone's going to take a shot at the fast food one. And eventually in the article somewhere, they're going to be like, you need to try this $17 burger from this localish establishment. And you're like, okay, yes, but there's a reason sometimes we just eat the fast food burger. The burger's half the price of the local one. The buy local thing gets crazy, and everyone's like, "Well, you're not supporting." Okay, I don't want to get in. This is a palate cleanser. This is a palate cleanser episode. This isn't about the fact that everyone working at the McDonald's or the Burger King probably lives in your city. So every time you avoid one of those places, you are actually, you think you're only affecting local if you buy a local burger, but if you buy one at Burger King, the guys and gals who are working there, they're local, you're actually helping them out. So I don't want to get in the weeds in that because people will come back with all the arguments on why and how and who and this and corporate and blah, blah, blah. It's not what this is about. This is about we need to make sure we are legit on our commentary on how things taste without trying to throw in politics into the mix of taste tests, because the Whopper is really good. Now, the Whopper's degree of mess up is high. When a Whopper is built poorly, which can happen anywhere, it's not great. But when a Whopper is built normal to above average, and it's put together with just a little bit of TLC, man, it's got the onion on it, it's got the tomato on it, it's got the lettuce on it, it's got the sauces on it. I don't mind Burger King's bun. I like the taste of their burgers. The Whopper is really, really good. Now, I understand if you get a bad one, you're like, ugh. But if you get a bad one anywhere, right? If you get a bad burger anywhere, you're going to be like, this burger stinks. Big Mac. I have mixed feelings about the Big Mac because I love the Big Mac. And it's one of my favorite fast food menu items. But I will admit that I think a lot of the reason why I love the Big Mac is because of the sauces. I think the sauces are unique on it and great. But in terms of a burger, like a double quarter pounder or a quarter pounder with cheese is probably the better McDonald's hamburger. But there's something about that sauce, the special sauce on a Big Mac. There's something cool about the bun in the middle. Just way too much lettuce on it. I love that. So I like both those. I know this article said they both stink. And they're the two worst ones. They have the Five Guys cheeseburger at number 3, White Castle's sliders at number 4, and the Arby's burger at number 5. Why you are going to Arby's and ordering a hamburger is just absolutely beyond me. Who wrote this article? We need to give them a shout out. Let's see here. Do we have a name? Do we have a name, or did they just hide behind AOL.com? Lacey Masinski. Lacey. I bet you when Panda Express makes a burger, it's going to stink. Okay? Don't put the Arby's burger on there. Don't go to Arby's to buy a hamburger. I bet you Burger King's roast beef sandwich stinks. Should the Wendy's Baconator at number 6. In-N-Out's Double Double at number 7. So those are the 7 worst fast food burgers. Now, I will say she didn't have a Carl's Jr. burger on her most overrated fast food burger. She is smart about that. Carl's Jr. brings it when it comes to the burgers. If you have not had a Hardee's or Carl's Jr., same place, burger in a while, go do yourself a favor. Try one. They're so stinking good. They're well put together. They're messy. I want a messy burger. Sometimes people will rip on, well, you open up the McDonald's burger and there's ketchup all over the wrapper. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's what I want. Give me a little mess. I'm not there to stay clean. I'm not going in and coming out to be like, okay, well, look at me. That was just like a human car wash. I want my fingers to have a little ketchup on them. Maybe a little mustard, mayo, special sauce, whatever. I want the grease on my body. So I'm going to a fast food restaurant. So yeah, get a little messy, get a little wild. It's all going to mix up in the blender of my mouth anyways. So I'm fine with all that stuff. And Carl's Jr. will bring it in terms of a little bit of mess. Where you open up that wrapper and you just see mayo and ketchup all over it, and you're like, yeah, we did it. We got the flavors in there. Because the second you don't have that on there, people just want to complain. Right? We've learned that the last couple of podcasts. People just want to complain. So we've either got too messy of a burger, or then you open it and it's like, well, they didn't have enough stuff on it. It was dry. They didn't have enough stuff on it. It was like they didn't even put in the effort in. Okay, yeah, we can't make you happy with your $5 hamburger. Just can't do it. What else did I need to talk about today? This is supposed to be a palate cleanser where we talked positively about burgers, but I'm telling you, the trajectory of the podcast right now is me being in a bad mood, and I don't want that. I'm enjoying summer, and I want to just enjoy summer moving forward with the chaos of bringing in a new kid to go along with my kids. It's been fun watching my kids and remembering how great summer is as a child. Oh my gosh. Remember summer as a child? Where there's just the world is your oyster, and every now and then you're riding your bikes around the neighborhood, and then one day someone's like, you want to go to the pool? You go, yeah, I got nothing on the calendar. I'm doing nothing today. My day was going to be me trying to beat Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. That was going to be my day. But you're going to throw in a little kink of, you want to go to the pool? Absolutely, because I can play Zelda later tonight since I'm staying up till 1:30 a.m. Anyways, by the way, what is it Link's Awakening, Legend of... why do I never know this? Let's just lock this up right now. It's Zelda 2, okay? Zelda 2. What is that game called? Well, I always struggle with it. It's one of the number one games I want to beat. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. There we go. That's one of the number one video games I want to beat. I have made it to Ganon's Castle numerous times and have never beat it. It's very hard for me. I'm not great at video games. I love them. I'm just not great at them. The great game, though. What a clever game that is, where you are on an overhead map as Link, controlling him around an overhead map that has roads, and then the second you step off the road into the grass, monsters pop up on the screen. If they hit you, you go into a little side-scrolling battle against monsters. Depending on what monster you hit, that affects the degree of difficulty for the side-scrolling moment. And then you walk around and find items to clear the map. Oh man, how do I get through this gigantic rock in the road? Well, you got to go find this one abandoned castle, go through it. Oh, look at this. There's a hammer. Now you can break through this rock. So you open up more of the map. I love Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, but my goodness, when you get to the final boss, the final castle, that castle is ridiculously hard. Anyways, there's the palate cleanser for me. Summer as a child. Spent hoping Micah Huffman would invite me over, and we would play Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, the majority of the day, and then the rest of the day, we would pull a ladder out from their garage and set it up in their backyard by the basketball hoop and try to do windmill dunks. I can't imagine how safe that was. I think this is why I don't mind when my son, like yesterday, is jumping on the couch and just jumps off and lands on his side. And it's like, oh, it sounds bad. It looks bad. He's crying. And I think I don't really care about it because I'm like, hey, dude, wait about 10 more years to when you pull the ladder out and you're jumping off a ladder trying to do windmill dunks in a 10-foot hoop. That's a little more dangerous. And the landings hurt a little bit more. I don't know how we didn't always have a broken arm. I guess technically I did.
Kelly's, what are you into?
Thank you for hanging on through this episode. Again, I apologize, unprepared. Was supposed to have guests, didn't have them, so now we had to talk burgers, get me fired up about them. Thank you to the people who are Patreon subscribers. You mean the world to me. Sean Widmer Podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast. Is that what it is? Yeah, Sean Widmer Podcast. Yeah. Thank you to the people who support the podcast. You keep this going. You allow me to continue to do this. Thank you for all that. It means the world to me, those of you who are the Patreon subscribers. Become one. I would love it. Become one. Help support this. Help support local podcasts. We taste better than the big podcasts. Most overrated tasting podcast, pardon my take, Smartless, and Armchair Expert. But if you put this podcast in your mouth, you're going to be so satisfied. All right, there's your commercial, Patreon. Put that up, whatever, however you do that. But what am I into? We end the show with Kelly's What Are You Into? We talk about something that I'm into at the time and share it with you. You can always send in your Kelly What Are You Into? Whatever you're into at the time. Do that on Sean'sLife.com. At the comment section, we'll read those at the end. DuoLingo. Mira, yo puedo hablar español, pero mi vocabulario no es suficiente. All right, so I want to get my Spanish buttoned up. Because of that, I have been led to DuoLingo. My buddy Alex here in town, he was doing DuoLingo. We were at a game night a couple months ago, and all of a sudden he peeled away from the table in a panic, and I heard Spanish. I was like, what is Spanish doing here? And he is doing DuoLingo, and there's a streak thing on DuoLingo to make sure, every day you do your DuoLingo, which is a language learning app. And you got to keep your streak alive. And so he was in the 11 o'clock hour, and he realized, oh, crap, I haven't done my DuoLingo yet. So he snuck off and did his DuoLingo. Now, I don't know much about it. He likes it. I've heard other people who like it as well. And I don't know how all the way it works. I'm 3 days into it, but I'm kind of addicted to it right now. And it is just like any app, right? As soon as you get it the first week, you're just so addicted to it. And then you figure out if it's going to have staying power or not. But it's been kind of fun doing it. I don't know how it's going to affect my reconnection with one of my favorite languages. Maybe my favorite language. I love Spanish. More than English even. I just have never been great at it. So this app for sure, my review of it to start, I do feel like I'm reconnecting with a lot of words. Like I totally forgot how to say you're going to eat lunch, that you're going to almorzar. I forgot that almorzar. I also need to say words more. My Spanish is failing. Is lunch. Then it's just lunch. Right? It's not, almorzar is not eat all foods. It's just about lunch. And I forgot that, so it's been kind of fun, like reconnecting with words and remembering words that are in the back of my head that I had forgot about forever. And I'm hoping that it leads to me feeling comfortable with Spanish again. I really love the language. I'm interested how that's going to happen because I remember learning Spanish and it was different for me because I lived in a Spanish-speaking country, so learning Spanish for me also included me just being thrown into it. But when you learn Spanish, one of the hard things is verb tenses. At least for me, it was. What tense of the verb do I use here? How do you break down the verb? Is it conjugate the words? I was so bad at that, and it terrified me. I feel like there was participle was a word that you had to use, like past participle, present participle. And again, I don't know if these are right, but I just remember being overwhelmed by verb usage in Spanish. And I don't know if that's going to come into play with DuoLingo. I hope it does. So if you're out there and you've done it, let me know. Is this going to be worth pursuing? Is this going to be worth me sinking my teeth into a lot? Or am I just going to do this a bunch, have this fun time reconnecting with Spanish on such a light level that it's not going to take me anywhere? I'm not doing the paid version. I'm just doing the free version. But so far, I've enjoyed it. 3 whopping days in. Let's read some comments. Sean'sLife.com is where you can go comment. And we had one off there. One whopping comment. Ian said this. Would you rather have all the X-Men powers or all the Justice League powers? Superman excluded, obvious reasons. Personally, while the main Justice League members' powers are fire, the overall power schemes seem lame, so I pick X-Men. Okay, so Ian, I don't know a ton about X-Men. I was not an X-Men guy, but I've heard that I need to watch, what is it, X-Men 99 or X-Men 97? The show that was released a month or two ago on Disney Plus or wherever it's streaming, Hulu, wherever it's streaming. I've heard I need to watch that. So I've never been a big X-Men guy, big Justice League guy. If you take out Superman, though, it's X-Men because X-Men's powers are across the board more awesome. You get so many more powers throughout the X-Men. Superman is the reason the Justice League powers are really, really cool because he can do all the sick stuff. So yeah, if you take Superman out of it, I have to go X-Men, obviously. You just have more. Right, you get Wolverine, you get Cyclops, you get Storm. Just in 3 names, you get more powers than the non-Superman Justice League people. And I want maximum. I want maximum powers. So you're going to get more powers out of X-Men. So I'm with you. I'm going X-Men. Let's head over to Spotify. You can comment there if you're listening to today's episode. Just go to today's episode, scroll down. There's a Q&A section, and you can comment like Yvonne did. Here's what she said. I finished CSI New York, now watching The Mentalist, waiting for The Bear to come back on the 27th. I like Facebook, except for when the Karens come on. Petty people. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get another social media comment here in just 1 second, so we'll save the social media comments for a moment. I did not realize The Bear was back so soon. Yvonne, I did not realize it. I'm so excited about it. I just saw something right before I hit record. I saw an interview with Maddie Matheson, and I was like, wait, what? This means The Bear. Sure enough, The Bear is back. Oh, I'm so excited for that. The Bear is so good. Unless you hate it, then The Bear stinks. Jeanette said this over on YouTube. You can watch the show, youtube.com/Bommeruski. I think that's my channel. If you can't find it there, go to my website, seanslife.com, click the podcast link, and the link is there. She said this, I have listened to Dave, Ken, and Molly since the 90s. They brightened my day. They were sincere, caring, hilarious, and real. It is heartbreaking that they are canceled. I will not be listening to that station anymore. They absolutely do feel like family. Listen to Coyote Country. Listen to Jay and Kevin. Listen to my guys in the morning. They are great. I'll say it. We had a better show than Dave and Ken. Right? So if you like Dave and Ken, who had a great show, they had a great show. Obviously, beloved. Jay and Kevin show, we had a better show. So the only good thing I can think about with this, because it stinks to lose the show you love. It stinks to lose it. And to lose a great show. There is a better option in Spokane. So you do have that going for you. And I know immediately that's just going to come across as, oh, Dave and Ken stink. That's not at all what I said. I have to clarify these things because it's 2024. People can't hear normal anymore. Dave and Ken, great show. Really great show. Jay and Kevin, better than that. Oh, I'm so sorry you have 2 amazing morning radio shows in Spokane, or you had 2 great morning radio shows in Spokane. Boo hoo. But Jay and Kevin are better. So go listen, Janet. You're gonna thank me later. I hope they're still great. I mean, they were great when I was on it. Look, I'm gonna toot my own horn for a second. Okay, Houston said this. Also, I'm gonna have one last Dave and Ken thought after this, because this next comment's about Dave and Ken also. Houston said this: social media is truly the worst. Made everyone a keyboard warrior. How many people would actually take action if they didn't feel the dopamine hit of getting likes and approval from everyone else replying to them? Not many, in my opinion. What was even worse than the boycott KXOY is the boycott any company that runs an ad on ZZU. Now, instead of trying to hurt one company, you're trying to hurt multiple companies. So you want to kill Spokane? Because most commercials you hear on the stations aren't just tiny businesses. Thoughts about the future of radio. I think it will always be around, but transition more to music and ads. If you want to hear someone talk for a long time, uninterrupted by music you may not even like, then podcasts are your home. There may be ads, but at least you can, most of the time, fast forward. I appreciate the compliments, sir. It was always good times. Don't fry during Who Fest. Oh, wait, that's impossible. Houston, loved working with you. I'll reiterate that. And I agree. That's what I had said on Friday. That's exactly what I think the future of radio is. I think the long-form programming, like all the stuff that I did, Jay and Kevin, shout out. I think that's going away. Jay and Kevin, shout out. I think that's going away. I think it's music. Music is where radio will be, which is great. I love that. But yeah, I think if you're a long form content, just get in the podcast game. That's where you belong anyways. So the Dave and Ken thing, that's obviously related to that. With palate cleanser episode, we're not diving into it. But I will say this, there's so many people out there still seeing posts. One of my guys, David Allendorf, used to work for the Spokane Shock. A great friend of mine. He was a supporter of my local sports show when I did it. I noticed in all of his posts he didn't mention that. Allendorf, you bum. Where were you on that? But he went on this huge tangent about shows getting canceled and things he likes. And I do want to make sure people like that, who I love Allendorf. And I love a lot of people I've seen taking shots at this move, this big radio move. I need people to remember that you're on the outside, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but you're on the outside. You just are. Okay, you're on the outside. You're not on the inside, and you got to understand. It's kind of like there was a big drama, terrible drama in the online streaming community this week. Dr. Disrespect was years ago. He was on Twitch, got banned from Twitch. Had to move to YouTube, and finally this week they announced a guy leaked why it was he was banned from Twitch. He was inappropriately messaging a minor. You're a jerk. You're the worst. You're the absolute worst. And he even admitted to the fact he was messaging this minor, but that maybe tiptoed past the line and didn't cross it. And it's yeah, you're the worst, dude. You're the worst. I'm out. No one will never support you ever again. But all these companies they pulled sponsorships with him, and they just cut him out of the company. And a lot of people were, like the Dave and Ken thing, up in arms about it. And I think we forget, from time to time, you do not have, as a consumer of something, you do not have the one-on-one relationship that the business has with the people that are affected and getting let go, right? With Dr. Disrespect, I don't have a one-on-one conversation with him. So a lot of people were like, look, this is blasphemy coming from this Twitch leak. This is blasphemy. That's not how it happened. This has all been settled, blah, blah, blah. And they're supporting Dr. Disrespect. And it's okay, well, hang on. The companies that are pulling their funding and all of this, the people behind the Dave, Ken, and Molly thing, they have one-on-one interactions, real, actual interactions. And there's things we don't see as consumers. So when I'm out here making my judgment and skeptical calls about Dr. Disrespect or whatever it may be, I'm doing that because I'm being told what I know from outlet X. I'm being told Dr. Disrespect puts up his tweet. I'm being told his side of the story fed to me by him. And that's kind of in this situation. You don't have one-on-one. You can't just come in here and take all these shots and be like, this is unfair. This is blah, blah, blah. This is this and that and this and that. Really? You're getting told the story from one person. And then to take shots at the other side, it's like, well, you don't know, like, come on. Golly gee, I don't want to get fired up about it. Palate cleanser episode. But I hope people can take a moment back and be like, okay, let's be real about this. Let's be realists about this. We aren't on the inside. Totally allowed to be bummed out. Totally allowed to be mad. Totally allowed to be frustrated. But I don't know that you just like go all in with some stuff the way people are going all in on things without being behind the closed doors that the other side is, right? I don't know. Also, Dave, Ken, and Molly. Everyone was mad about no final show. What is going on? Where were the posts? It's 2024. You want to say goodbye, post the video. Where has the video been? What happened here? Like if I'm a quote family member and mom and dad didn't leave a message, I think that speaks volume to how close of a family you actually were. I remember when Dick Al and I got let go. This is supposed to be a palate cleanser. The second we got let go, I told him, look, dude, let's record something. Let's throw it up on the internet. It'll get shared. This was years ago, right? This is not even the current state of social media where even more people have it now. This was 10 years ago, 8 years ago. So we immediately recorded something, threw it up, and it was, a thank you to people for listening and spending time with us and that we appreciated it. And nothing blasphemous or anything like that, but just a thank you. And it was easy, and we did it, and it took like 2 seconds, and it was out there. And was it the same as being on the air and saying goodbye? No, but we appreciated the family members. The fact there's no like video out there or audio out there of like, hey, this is what's going on. I know this isn't how you want us to say goodbye. Like, I don't know. Something to think about. Palate cleanser episode. Thank you for listening.